So right now, out in the real world, there are military operations actively using names like Operation Rising Lion and Operation Roaring Lion to, project this image of ultimate dominance.
Right, which is a pretty classic psychological tactic.
Exactly. It's brilliant on paper. But according to the ancient spiritual science we are unpacking today, the nations or leaders using these names might be completely misunderstanding what the lion actually represents.
Oh, absolutely. They totally missed the mark.
Because if we look at their actions through a purely spiritual lens, they might not be riding a lion at all. I mean, they might actually be riding a donkey.
And that contrast, that image, is really the heart of what we're analyzing in our deep dive today. Across so many global spiritual traditions, the lion is not a symbol of localized military force or just brute strength.
Right.
It symbolizes divine courage. It represents an awakened higher intelligence. It's this direct, unwavering connection to what our sources call the unified field.
And then, on the flip side of that, you have the donkey, which these exact same traditions use to symbolize the isolated, mechanical human mind.
Yeah, the literal opposite of the unified field.
Which leads us to this massive structural question that our sources pose today. We are looking at this fascinating spiritual hypothesis for you to consider. What if every major action, whether it's taken by you, a global corporation, or an entire nation, stems from one of two very distinct sources?
Two very different operating systems, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're either operating from the isolated mind, this donkey consciousness, or you are operating from the unified field, the divine intelligence, which is lion consciousness.
So our goal today is to really figure out what happens to a civilization or a military when its sense of justice and power is driven entirely by mechanical thought rather than, actual spiritual wisdom.
And to really wrap our heads around that, we need to look at a core teaching from Sri Kalki Bhagavan that's highlighted in our materials. Because he presents this concept that is, well, it's slightly comical, but also deeply tragic.
Yeah, the teaching about the human mind being an unchanging donkey.
Yes. He says the tragedy isn't that the donkey exists.
Yeah.
I mean, we need the mind to function in the daily world. The tragedy is that we are carrying the donkey on our heads instead of riding it.
Right. The donkey is dictating the path. We are serving it.
And I was trying to visualize what that actually means in practice, The best analogy I could come up with is it's like trying to navigate this treacherous, rapidly shifting landscape using a broken, totally outdated GPS.
Oh, I like that. A broken GPS.
Yeah, this GPS only has maps of places you've already been. It has zero live satellite feed, so it can't see the massive sinkhole 50 feet ahead of you. It only calculates its next move based on the exact road you traveled yesterday.
That is the human mind in a nutshell.
We are letting an instrument that only processes dead, past tense data drive the car.
That captures the mechanical nature of it perfectly, because Kalki Bhagavan emphasizes that the mind itself is essentially dead.
Dead. Like literally.
Well, energetically. It is a closed loop of logic. It just takes past experiences, past traumas, past calculations, and then projects them into the future.
So it's just recycling.
Exactly. It has absolutely no capacity for original, spontaneous creation. And while that broken GPS is perfectly fine for functional linear tasks like, filing paperwork or calculating a trajectory, it is completely blind to the broader invisible web of reality.
Okay, so bring this to the geopolitical level. If an individual operating on donkey consciousness is just a guy driving around with a bad GPS, what does a donkey nation look like?
Well, a donkey nation becomes a prisoner of its own calculations. Since it can't access the unified field, that broader network of divine intelligence, it relies entirely on paranoia.
Just constant hypervigilance.
Right. Hypervigilance and strategic planning based on historical fears. So a nation guided by the donkey gets locked into this self-perpetuating cycle of anxiety and retaliation. And the worst part is it mistakes its own calculated ruthlessness for profound wisdom.
Wait, I'm struggling with that a little bit. If the mind is just a closed loop of logic, and logic is a dead end, how did humanity use it to build spaceships or cure diseases or set up the internet?
It's a fair question.
Is the source material saying human logic and reason are just entirely useless?
Not useless at all, but fundamentally limited. Logic and reason are supreme when you're dealing with the physical, three-dimensional mechanics of survival or innovation.
Yeah.
But the text describes the mind as inherently anti-God. Now, that doesn't mean the mind is sinister or evil.
Right, it's not demonic.
No, it just means the mind is a walled garden. It relies strictly on cause and effect. But the unified field, the divine intelligence, operates entirely outside of linear cause and effect.
Nonlinear.
Exactly. It operates on nonlinear leaps, synchronicity, infinite possibility. So within the strict boundaries of logical thought, there is literally no scope for the divine to enter. As the texts say, where the mind ends, God begins.
Okay, so if this broken GPS is driving a nation, or even just driving you as a person, toward a cliff,
Yeah.
and we can't logic our way out of a closed loop of logic, how do you turn the GPS off?
Right. How do you put the donkey down?
Exactly. If we're carrying it on our heads, how do we drop it?
The answer in the source material is actually really jarring to the modern intellect, because the solution is physical miracles.
A mirror.
Unexplained, spontaneous phenomena. The texts talk about instances where honey or water simply manifests out of thin air in the presence of a spiritual phenomenon.
But wait, how does a magic trick fix a closed loop of consciousness?
Well, because these physical miracles aren't parlor tricks meant to entertain people, they serve a highly precise, almost surgical function.
Okay, how so?
Think about it. The human brain is incredibly proud. It really believes it has cataloged all the rules of reality. But when it witnesses a true phenomenon, which the text defines as an occurrence that is highly significant but utterly impossible to explain through physics or logic, the operating system basically crashes. Yeah, the donkey mind literally goes to pieces because it just cannot process the data.
So the GPS encounters a terrain it cannot map, and it finally just shorts out.
Exactly. And in their exact moment of cognitive failure, when the arrogant mind is stunned into silence, a massive empty space is created.
Which opens the door for what rushes into that space. Because when the donkey is finally put down, that is when the lion emerges.
Yes, the arrival of the lion.
And this archetype is so pervasive across human history. The sources specifically mention Narasimha, which in the Vedic tradition is this terrifying, fierce, half-man, half-lion avatar.
Right, a very intense figure.
And he represents divine intelligence appearing at the exact moment that human logic exhausts itself. And we also see this with the Lion of Judah representing uncompromising divine kingship. Across the board, the lion is the symbol of God-guided power, completely overriding human calculation.
And to understand why the lion is so necessary right now, we have to look at the environment we are currently navigating.
The era we're in.
Yeah. The Vedic texts call our current era the Kali Yuga. It's described as an age of extreme darkness, intense density, spiritual amnesia, and just overwhelming chaos.
And in an era that dense standard operating procedures just don't work. Like the sources imply that traditional, slow karmic justice is way too inefficient for the Kali Yuga.
Oh, way too slow.
Because karmic justice is usually this slow, meditative wheel of cause and effect, right? Where a soul learns its lessons over multiple lifetimes.
Right, it's a long game.
But if you are facing a sudden, devastating crisis today, if you are the victim of massive financial fraud or a coordinated smear campaign, false accusations, hidden spiritual attacks, you cannot afford to wait 3 lifetimes for the universe to balance the scales.
You need a direct intervention. And that is exactly where the sources introduce an incredibly potent archetype for this specific age, which is Karupasamy.
Karupasamy.
Yes. Initially recognized as this fierce Dravidian village deity in rural South India, but the deeper teachings reveal him to be the performer of miracles for the Golden Age. He is the ultimate, uncompromising dispenser of instant justice.
The text actually describes him as the vanguard for Kalki. Kalki being the prophesied 10th and final avatar destined to appear at the close of this dark age to basically dismantle corrupt systems.
Right.
And the imagery here is striking, I have to say. Kalki is prophesied to ride a magnificent white horse. Karupasamy is also depicted riding a rearing white horse. But I'm assuming, based on everything we've discussed so far, that horse isn't just a literal animal.
No, not at all. In this spiritual science, the horse is a symbol for prana.
Prana.
Yeah, prana is pure, vital life force. It is the underlying kinetic energy of the universe. So by riding prana, Karupasamy represents unimaginable quantum speed.
Wow.
He uses that frequency of pure life force to completely bypass the backlogged, slow karmic courts and rush to the aid of a devotee almost instantaneously.
So we have this force of unstoppable instant justice. But the material reveals that Karublasmi is not just a singular energy, right? He is a supreme amalgamation of four uncompromising, fierce
A
archetypes.
combination of forces,
Like
yeah.
where Kalabhairava, the Lord of Time, Narasimha, the lion who finds hidden loopholes, Rudra, the roaring storm god who cleanses karma, and Virabhadra, the divine warrior who shatters ego.
And it's the combination of these four forces that makes this archetype so incredibly potent on the Earth plane.
Okay, I have to push back here for a second. Let's bring the Donkey Nation back into the room.
Let's do it.
Let's imagine a nation, or a massive military complex, or even a ruthless multinational corporation. They are pure donkey consciousness. They are driven entirely by calculating logic, fear, and ego.
Okay.
If they have the absolute strongest military, the most advanced kinetic weapons, the best economic strategists, and a totally ruthless agenda, wouldn't they logically avoid any pitfalls? Like, how does a purely spiritual concept actually dismantle a physical, well-funded kinetic army?
And that, right there, is the ultimate illusion of donkey consciousness.
How so?
The mind inherently believes that physical force dictates reality. But the spiritual physics presented here suggests something entirely different. They suggest that divine power serves consciousness, not military strength.
Oh, interesting.
If a nation operates purely from the ego, if it is essentially a donkey wearing a lion's mask, these four cosmic forces undergo a massive polar shift and actively turn against them.
Okay, walk me through the actual mechanics of that, because I want to see how this plays out. How does Kalabhairava, the Lord of Time, dismantle a superior military?
Time becomes their greatest blind spot. When a leadership operates from fear and ego, they become deeply impatient or aggressively opportunistic. Kalabhairava distorts their perception of timing.
So they make bad calls.
Huge ones. They will launch an operation at the exact moment their enemy is spiritually and tactically strongest. Or they'll overextend their economy just as a hidden global crisis hits. Their strategic clarity is completely consumed by darkness, and time itself generates their ruin.
Okay, that makes sense. And what about Narasimha? What happens to the lion?
Well, the donkey mind relies on probability and historical data, right? It cannot see anomalies.
Right, the broken GPS.
Exactly. So if a nation's actions arise from pride and deceit, the lion archetype ceases to provide quantum solutions. The nation becomes entirely vulnerable to the impossible loophole, the black swan event that their smartest computers said could never happen.
Wow.
The lion is no longer protecting their flank. The lion becomes the uncalculated variable that destroys them.
That makes terrifying sense. The mind only prepares for what it has seen before. Okay, then we have Rudra, the storm god. Now, a powerful donkey nation might think they can harness the storm, right? Like, use fear and chaos to destroy their rivals.
You might think that, yeah. But Rudra's function is to cleanse corruption, not to serve the ego's agenda.
Yeah.
If a nation is fundamentally corrupt, the storm they try to project outward will inevitably collapse inward. The paranoia and hypervigilance of the donkey mind will cause them to turn on themselves.
We actually see that all the time.
Constantly. You see empires tearing themselves apart through internal purges, institutional rot, systemic economic collapse. The storm cleanses the nation's own arrogance.
And finally, we have Virabhadra, the divine warrior. Now, you would assume the ultimate war god would inherently favor the strongest, most well-equipped military.
You'd think so, but no. The divine warrior supports righteousness and the destruction of the oppressor's ego. Pure kinetic strength without spiritual alignment breeds massive asymmetrical resistance.
That backfires.
Completely. To a nation acting from pure deceit, the war god becomes the friction in every single gear. Every attempt they make to project power only isolates them further and unites their enemies. It turns the entire unified field into their opponent.
It is a complete inversion of how we are taught to view power. Like, you simply cannot manipulate the unified field to serve a broken GPS.
You really can't.
Which brings us to how an individual actually interacts with this energy. Because Karupazing isn't just an abstract concept, right? He is interacted with in very dense physical ways. Let's look at his iconography for a second, because it is a literal roadmap for the destruction of the ego.
Yeah, it's highly symbolic.
He is not a serene, meditating figure sitting on a lotus flower.
Far from it. His depiction is intentionally intense because the problems he addresses are intense. His skin is pitch black. The word Kurupu actually translates to black or dark.
Okay.
And he acts as a quantum void, basically, like a cosmic black hole that actively absorbs the dense negativity, fear, and psychic attacks directed at his devotees.
He also has these massive, unblinking, wide eyes. It is the look of supreme vigilance. He sees completely through the rationalizations and lies of the donkey mind.
He misses nothing.
And then there is his weapon, the Aruval.
Right, the Aruval. It is a large, heavy, curved South Indian machete, but you really have to view it as a spiritual technology. It is the machete of absolute truth.
A spiritual machete.
Yeah. Its function is to instantly slice through the thick, entangled cords of negative karma. He uses it to sever a person's attachments to toxic situations, abusive power dynamics, and those deep-seated illusions that just keep people trapped in repetitive suffering.
And here's the part that is most surprising to me. When you are dealing with a deity of this magnitude, you would normally expect the rituals to involve pure, peaceful, sattvic offerings, like offering a bowl of sweet rice or milk or fresh flowers.
Right, the standard offerings.
But you absolutely cannot do that with Karupasi. The source material outlines offerings that are heavy, earthy, and tamasic.
And that is a crucial distinction to make. Krupasmi does not operate in the ethereal, meditative realms. He operates in the thick, chaotic, often brutal density of the 3D physical world.
Right here on Earth.
Yes. The problems humans face, fraud, betrayal, violence, are highly dense. Now, quantum energy is inherently incredibly light and fast. If you want to pull that high-voltage quantum energy down into the physical plane to actually solve the physical problem, you need a heavy grounding wire.
That makes so much sense. The offerings are the grounding wire. Because the sources list things like offering lit cigars, alcohol like wine or local Iraq, black gram, which is a dense lentil known for absorbing negative planetary radiations, and heavy garlands made of highly acidic lemons to absorb the evil eye.
Exactly. Those substances act as the energetic anchor. By offering these tamasic, dense items, you satisfy his fierce, warrior-like frequency.
It pulls him in.
It literally acts as a gravitational pull, dragging that fast-moving, problem-solving consciousness down out of the ether and into immediate physical manifestation to combat human injustice.
And timing is a major component of this spiritual technology, too. You don't just, throw a cigar into the ether and hope for the best.
Definitely not.
There are specific cosmic windows, power times, where the veil between the physical and the quantum is thinnest for this specific energy.
Right. While the energy of justice is technically always accessible, the lunar phases dictate the path of least resistance.
So when is the best time?
Well, the 19th moon phase is recognized as a highly specialized frequency exclusively dedicated to Karupasami's protection and his ability to rapidly dismantle negative karma.
The sources also highlight the new moon, or Amavasya, which honestly structurally makes perfect sense. If he acts as a cosmic black hole absorbing dark energy, his power to clear deep-seated curses and ancestral trauma would obviously peak on the darkest, moonless night of the month.
That's exactly the mechanics of it. And we also have the 8th waning moon. This phase carries the specific frequency of Kalabhairava, the Lord of Time.
Okay, so when do you use that one?
You utilize this cosmic window when a situation is just dragging on endlessly, and you desperately need to compress time to force a rapid conclusion to an unjust scenario.
So, if we trace the line of everything we've explored today, we started with global military operations naming themselves after lions. We looked at the human mind as a broken, outdated GPS, a donkey we stubbornly carry on our heads. We explored how miracles crash that GPS to let true consciousness enter. And we looked at the literal machetes, cigars, and lunar phases used to anchor divine justice into a chaotic world.
It's a lot to take in, but when you synthesize all of these elements, it points to one profound, undeniable realization.
What's that?
The greatest battlefield we face is not geopolitical. The ultimate war is not being fought between rival nations or competing corporate conglomerates. The true battlefield is entirely internal.
It's inside us.
It is the conflict between lion consciousness, the heart's alignment with the unified field and divine intelligence, and donkey consciousness, the anxious, calculating, fear-driven analytical mind, battling for supremacy within every single human being.
Which leaves us with one final, maybe slightly uncomfortable thought for you to consider. The source material shows us that Karupasami uses dense, chaotic, earthly things, alcohol, cigars, and machetes, to anchor divine justice. If that is how the spiritual physics of this universe actually work, then is it possible that the messy, chaotic, completely unspiritual problems in your own life right now aren't actually obstacles?
That's a huge perspective shift.
Right. What if that impossible deadline, that unfair conflict, or that dense frustration isn't blocking your path? What if those messy situations are the exact dense anchors the universe is using to pull a massive miracle down to you?
Wow.
The mind will tell you it's a disaster. But the lion knows it's an opportunity. So taking a hard look at how you navigate your own life,
Hmm.
which one are you riding today?